Hello, beautiful people. Why, yes, we have moved. We're at the model writing desk on the floor now. We've evolved. It's beautiful fall weather. It's raining outside right now. I was planning on doing some shopping today, but that isn't happening anymore. Not with the torrential downpours that are basking the glorious earth. Unlucky. But anyways, on to today's topic. I thought I would talk about something that Razor Fist actually recently described. He went on like an interesting rant in sort of this anti-Starfield stream where he basically took the game and examined it in sort of an activist way, right? Where he was playing the product, right, instead of boycotting it. And then he intentionally was ridiculing it and trying to put it down and trying to make it seem as bad as humanly possible, right? So this is like some sort of new form of protest or new protest idea, right? It's an interesting one, right? When we consider things that I've boycotted, like RuneScape, for instance. Like, is it more effective to, instead of simply boycott RuneScape, to endlessly ridicule it? I really don't think so when I examine the grand scheme of things, right? So when we're talking about what Razor Fist is trying to get at here, he's, purchased the product, so he's already given Bethesda, that criminal conspiracy garbage company, his hard-earned dosh. And then not only that, but he's also drawing attention to the product and its hilarious flaws and bugs, right? That was the whole point, I assume, is because he knew he could make something out of all of the NPCs acting a fool, right? So that's like his motif or his way of going about it. But when you think about it from like the grand scheme of things and the ways you would go about doing something like that, I really don't see it working, right? Like when I examine trying to undo the ESGification of the gaming industry, when I examine trying to remove BlackRock's taint from our media and trying to get the normies out and have the products that we really need to have in a way we need to have them, I'm personally not really convinced that anything like what he's doing is going to have any impact. Like, consider the things you would even need to say to be able to criticize a lot of these products. You just simply can't. Like, if I wanted to say, do what Razor Fist did but for Jagex, I can't really even say the things that I would need to be able to say to be able to criticize them, right? Player mod or Jagex would just mute me as soon as I started rattling off the statistics based on, what Pride actually is, right? We're talking 30, years off your life expectancy. We're talking, pedophilia rates 10 times the average. So if we couldn't even really discuss what Pride is. All we could do is mock how terrible Jagex is. And while we can do that without also playing the game, so I don't really see much of a point in his sort of interesting idea about new ways of protesting like these woke products. Like, if you want to remove wokeness from our hobbies and get that out of gaming, the only way is going to be simply just investing in indie video games, right? BlackRock and ESG means that they don't really need to sell video games, period. They don't need to make good products or make successful products. They need to make products which fits the current motif and the current vision of, Larry Fink, basically. So if we're trying to combat something like that, then the only really tool you have is your time. The money doesn't really matter that much. Like, BlackRock's going to pay for it either way. It is what it is. But if we're going to defeat Larry Fink and, the social justice crowd and all of these people, the only way we're going to do it is with our time and attention and devoting it towards projects that, basically deserve it. So that means removing ourselves from this woke ideology and just inhibiting things that are going to basically only cater to our interest. The biggest problem with that is we're bringing up competitors to Larry Fink and all these people, which is the entire point, right? You raise up the indie developers so that they're on par with the AAA companies as far as, product reach and what they can build and what they can make. And then Larry Fink just gives them money. So I don't really see a way, that, at least in the West, that any of this is salvaged. I don't see how you come back from this sort of cultural decay. The only thing we can do is really protect the next big thing, which is going to be AI, from this milieu, which is already being done with a lot of the local language models, a lot of the stuff. It's a few years now, at least, of coming to the consumer market and being something, everybody has access to, but within our lifetime, and probably very soon, probably around the time the next economic crash happens, we're going to have the ability to start working on local language models and our own forms of AI, especially base forms of AI, training it however we please, and that's going to be a lot more interesting, a lot more compelling, at least as far as the future goes. I think gaming as a whole, at least for, actual gamers, is probably going to die just in general, and I think we'll need new forms of entertainment to keep ourselves interested going forward. And while that is unfortunate, that's just the reality, is that, get the things you want and get them all lined up, and then basically, you might be able to play indie games occasionally, but eventually they're just going to get BlackRock, they're going to get ESG'd, they're all going to be working to get that Larry Fink money, that Amazon money, eventually Valve will fall, all of these corporations will fall eventually. And at the end of the day, it's just going to be this, woke hegemony that rules over everything, and it's going to be unwatchable. It'll basically be like Hollywood. And so you'll have to go to film noir, these like random, specific places to actually find anything entertaining. And that's fine. Like, I've been playing indie games a lot recently, and I've been enjoying myself, like all sorts of titles. And, like playing through old visual novels from my childhood, ones that I missed actually, like. And there's a few I still need to even finish that I haven't done yet. And there's basically, if you calculate out the amount of hours of content that exists just in, non-woke stuff that hasn't been ruined from the golden age of humanity, it's enough to last you for the rest of your life. You don't need to, suffer through a lot of this garbage. Like, I get it, it's, FOMO, it's the fear of missing out on the latest and greatest garbage, but it's just not worth it. Like, giving it attention is the worst thing you can possibly do. So, in my opinion, I think the best thing you can do is focus on yourself and the things that are going to please you going forward, and sort of just ignore Bethesda, ignore these corporations. It's pointless. It's not going to help you, and hey, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't see, these new forms of protesting where you just incessantly complain about things ever doing anything. Seems pointless. But with that, you have a good morning.